Greetings, everybody. You are watching the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel, and today I thought I would share with you all the decision I made on this lovely Singer 201 Centennial Badged machine. I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do a few touch-ups that will essentially restore the machine's all of its paint. Sometimes I will do this for a machine and sometimes I don't. And it's a kind of a hard thing to explain when and why. Sometimes if a machine has fantastic paint and it's just missing just a little bit, I'll sometimes go ahead and do my touch-ups. I also do them if there's something that's really glaring. If you saw my video on where I actually was showing how I touched up the bobbin winder assembly right here, and it turned out, actually, I'm quite pleased with the way it turned out. It's black and it's shiny. It matches the machine. Now, this paint is not fully cured. It's been about 12 hours, and so do not, I would say, resist the temptation to touch yours. Give it more time. Remember, these types of coatings, they may start to look dry, but they are not fully hardened yet. So don't start using your machine right away. In fact, I would just leave it be. Give it at least 48 hours. Just give it the benefit of the doubt, right? You've come this far with it. I'm very pleased with how it's turned out. But these other areas, they're tiny little flea bite areas that I have noticed on the machine that, again, these are very common. This is going to happen with various vintage machines. In fact, it's kind of surprising that the paint on some of these turned out to last as well as it has, when you consider that these machines often were, maybe there of course were exceptions, but often the original owners took immaculate care of them because they were aware of not only how well made the machines were, but how much they cost, and they were not cheap. Now, what I'm doing here, as I've been chatting along, I've actually taken a dry cotton swab. There's no alcohol on this, and I'm taking just dry, clean cotton swab, and I'm rubbing it up against what looks like maybe it's a little paint nick. Now, sometimes you'll rub and it'll actually be some kind of dirt that's kind of gotten stuck on the machine, and it just needs to be cleaned, and that can fool you. If I pull this up here, if I can hold this still long enough for any of you to see it, you may see what looks like an amber color. That's old oil. That's not the oil that I have put on the machine. So again, I'm basically taking a dry cotton swab, and my goal is to absorb as much oil as I can off of that spot. Now, if you can get a precision tip cotton swab, the Q-tip brand has something called precision tips. Those are how should I say? They're more tapered, and I think they were actually created for, not cleaning your ears out, but doing other things like this, I guess. So what I did is I ran out of my precision tips, so I took one of my generic cotton swabs, and I just took it and started rolling it between my thumb and finger, clean hands, and I've basically elongated and narrowed it. Now I'm going to dip it in just a barely dip. I did not submerge it. I think I put it in just like, I let the cotton just barely touch the surface of my jar of alcohol here. And what that did was it allows the alcohol just to be on the very tip. And why am I doing this? Because if I'm going to touch up an area, I want to just clean the oil off of that area. So I'm doing just like that. I'm not swiping around, okay? In fact, one of my viewers had made a comment on one of my, I'm not sure that I can see any oil, but why am I doing this? You want any surface that you're going to apply paint to, even an oil-based paint, to be clean of debris and any kind of oils, because that'll interfere with the paint sticking. So the first thing I do is to try to absorb any oil on a clean cotton swab, and then I go back with a tip like I just showed you with just a very small amount of alcohol, and that is the goal there, is to then remove any of the oil, or as much as I can, only from that spot. Remember, I'm not doing this to remove oil from the machine's paint surface, because the oil actually helps feed the paint and gives it a nice shine. It's a great way to get your machine shined up. You don't have to use polishes or waxes. Now, I'm going to do the same thing down here. Remember, I saw a number of chipped areas along the front edge, and this is pretty common. I mean, if you have a machine with no chips here, you're actually quite fortunate. It's probably more rare than anything else. So what am I doing? I've got another clean swab here, no alcohol, and you know, when I first go over these areas, I'm just letting that cotton, that dry cotton, absorb, because it'll start to wick out and absorb some of the oil that is, let's see if I can get a zoom in here, maybe give you guys a little bit better view. It will, if I turn the cotton swab, you can see it has it's not totally white, right? You see that little soiling there. That's basically old oil that's come off. And of course, once I do that, I'll just turn it around, use the other dry, clean side, and do the same thing here. And I don't have any need to do this over any of the paint that's good, just the area that's, you know, you want to focus the tip of the cotton swab right on the chip, maybe just like a 1/16 of an inch around it, you know, because you're gonna want that area to accept paint. And you can see here, it's amazing what a cotton swab will remove, and that's again without alcohol. So anyway, once you've soiled that cotton swab, you go on to another clean one. And basically, I'm going to do the same thing as I come down, right down the edge here. And I'm just wanting to, again, try to get it as clean as I can. It may not be perfect, but, you know, there's... it's going to give the paint that I apply a better shot at staying on there, because paints do not like dirty surfaces. Paint needs a nice clean surface to stick on. So again, I'm just going to take that and I'm going to keep going down the row here. Just do this one once more. And I'm going to come over here. There's a little nick right here. Like I say, sometimes you'll rub on what you think is a paint chip, and it actually could be something that's stuck onto the paint, and it might come off. You can see I had quite a lot of old oil, and of course oil is a magnet for dirt, so it's a combination of old oil as well as dirt, soiling, dust that you know, gets on an object over its lifetime. Okay, let's see if I've got any. You'll know if you know, if your cotton swab is ready to be swapped out. Just look at it. If it's white and clean, it should have some capacity to hold some kind of old oil and dirt. I'm very curious as to my viewers' opinions on touching up. I've had people say, and you can see, look at that, more of the dirt just coming off there. I've had people say to me, you know, hey, you know, I like seeing the old marks on a machine because they show, you know, the history of the use of the machine, and I appreciate that quite a bit. If you've ever been around anything, you know, old buildings where you can see generations have walked along the paths there. And I have actually had machines that I purposely did not, you know, I cleaned them and made sure that there were no edges that could harm the fabric. For example, sometimes you will see chips in the paint on the bed, and sometimes those chips are smooth enough you can simply do touch up, and you've seen me do this in other videos. Sometimes the chip is very has a sharp edge to it. This happens often with Necky machines that were painted black specifically. Seem to have a hard time with this, and you definitely will need to deal with a sharp paint chip edge. One of my viewers asked me, they said, well, would it make sense to try to sand around that edge? The, the trick there is you want to do that, yes, but very carefully, only in that tiny area. And so you literally might have to take a piece of sandpaper and glue it to a pencil eraser. You don't want to start sanding large parts of the good paint, because then what are you going to do? Because the larger the touch-up you put, the more it's going to show. And so less is more here. And so only in a case where the paint edge is so sharp that even after you touch it up with new paint, if it still has a rough surface, that's potentially going to damage your fabric. So you've got to have the bed of the machine to be smooth. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about, well, gosh, should I? So I basically I can't remember ever sanding any of my paint chips that I know of. Maybe I did, and I don't know. You guys tell me. Tell me if I did and forgot. So I'm going to turn the machine around here, and there's a chip here. It's a pretty obvious one, and I think it happened when someone in the past had to loosen the bracket of the motor mount, and they dropped it, and they probably dropped the motor or something got dropped right here. So I'm just going to come here, and again I'm just taking my cotton swab, right, and I'm taking it and putting it right in where that chip is, and then I'm going to, right around the edge of it, on the very edge of that chip, I'll make sure that the cotton gets put down there. Now, sometimes what you might discover is that you end up with paint that keeps coming off. Now, that's very rare for me, and if it does, you're going to have other issues with the paint itself. It's not common for paint to just come off in sheets. If it comes off that badly, chances are that it was not applied properly. The factory had a bad day or a bad week. So again, I'm basically trying to absorb any of the oils that would have gotten down in here. Don't really see, well, there's one little chip right there. It's very odd to see a chip on the back edge of the machine, because it normally doesn't really face anything that's going to cause issues with it. All right. So now I've done that with the dry swab. Now what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go back in the reverse, and this time I'm going to do what you saw me do on the front while ago. I'm going to take this is just a generic cotton swab, and I'm basically tapering the end with my my thumb and forefinger there, and then I'm going to take it into the alcohol. I normally don't keep the alcohol this close to my machine, but I'm doing this to show all of you. And when I do this, I'm not submerging that cotton swab. I'm literally just letting the tip touch the surface of the alcohol, and that's it. I don't need a lot because I'm not covering a wide space. Let's get that alcohol away from that gorgeous machine. Not a good risk to take. Okay, so now I'm going to take, get a little zoom here, and I'm basically going to take my cotton swab, and I don't want to push down hard because I don't want my tapered end to splay out on me. I'm just basically letting it make contact and doing this. I'm basically keeping it within the space of the chip, right? And just sort of hovering there like that, right? And so what have I done? I have essentially gotten the alcohol on the bare metal, and then on the very edge of the of where the paint has chipped, and that's all I'm going to do with that. And then I can take my alcohol, which I'll use. I'll get my swab again, and I will come over and do the same thing for any other area that I went over with a dry cotton swab. Oh, by the way, I just remembered something. Wonder if you guys remembered. If you've seen this machine in a number of videos, you can tell I'm excited when I get a 201 and a 201 Centennial, no less. Oh, okay. So I have somehow there's a fairly big chip here on the back. It's always curious. You never really know how these things get there, or if the original even knew that they had damaged it. Sometimes they didn't even know. All right, so I'm gonna come in here. You can see I'm doing the same thing. I want to make sure because I didn't get this one with my dry. So I'm swabbing the deck. Maybe that'll be the name of the video. I'm basically, again, wanting to absorb any of the oil that's right on the surface of that chip. It could be there because someone put oil on it. You guys know that I did because I like to, normally, I won't actually, as long as I get the dust off a machine, I really, in hindsight, should not be putting oil on the finish to make it look gorgeous. I should do my touching up first, right? I would still need to use this sort of cotton swabbing process. I still need to do that because even if I have not yet oiled the body of the machine, you should really just assume that there's going to be some layer of sewing machine oil or dust or grease on here. Okay, so now I've already done the dry swabbing. Now I've already tapered and barely dipped this tip into alcohol. And I'm just going to lightly touch it. I don't want my cotton swab to get any wider. I'm not looking to get it to extend out beyond the chip area. And these cotton swabs are pretty good for that. They're a pretty good tool. Uh-oh, I just saw another one. Look at there. There's a chip right there. Look there. Sometimes, depending on the lighting that you have, that lighting will help you find things that you didn't see. And this being a black machine, it can be a little tougher at times. Sometimes you'll find that lighter colored machines can be a little bit easier to spot chips. But if you stare at your black machine long enough, you will eventually see a paint chip. Now this chip, again, this is one of those retentive things, right? When the motor gets put back on this machine, well, I mean, okay, will this chip even be visible? No, but we're conserving a machine to bring it back as close as we can to original. So again, I've just dipped. I'm just barely touching that one. That's a smaller chip. So again, I'm not pushing much, and I don't need much. The alcohol on the cotton swab, it will pull that oil right off. You don't have to beat on it to scrub it. You're not really scrubbing. You're dabbing. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. We're dabbing here. So let's see here. So I'm going to come back to the front of the machine. And we'll go back and, because I've already done the dry swabbing, I'm going to come back this time. I'll get another cotton swab. I swear I should invest in cotton swab futures. Good gosh. And I'm going to taper. I'm going to taper my cotton swab. I'm just rolling it, and you're just trying to get it sort of compacted. You don't want to pull it out so that the cotton fibers are just, fraying to the point of looking like cotton hair. But I'm going to do both ends here, and then I'm going to take that cotton swab, and again, I'll put this in front of the camera, but I'm not going to leave it near the machine. I'm going to put this down just at the tip, just at the very top surface of that alcohol. That's it. It doesn't look like much. If you're thinking, hey, that doesn't look like much, you're right. It is not, and we don't want much. We want a little bit. So here I am. I'm almost treating it like a little paintbrush, but unlike the paintbrush, this cotton swab will help. It will put just enough alcohol to remove any residual oil. And now switch to the other side. And here, you can do this. You can actually, I'm not smashing it into the chip, but you can actually just sit it there and twirl it around there. And again, it will, believe it or not, pick up. It does. You won't feel like you're doing much because you say, well, I'm not pressing very hard on it. You press harder when you have a dry cotton swab. But when you're coming with the alcohol, it's just a light dabbing touch. That's really all it's going to take. See me rolling, rolling the cotton swab there. And it's just really a light little dab. Let's see, where was I? Was I here? That's all it is, right? That's all you have to do. And it won't feel like you're doing much, but when you've got 99% isopropyl alcohol on a cotton swab, you don't need to push very much because it will do the work for you, okay? And that's what we're after. I do not sand these. I don't pick at them because if you pick at them, you just make the chip bigger. And then you have a bigger touch-up spot which shows up more. Now when I was repainting the tension assembly, well, the whole thing got painted, so it wasn't that big of a deal. We'll come here. You can see what that did. I just pressed it into the side there. You can see what it pulled off. So again, it will work. It's not always obvious when you're using something like this. You think, well, what am I, am I just going through the motions here? Is anything coming off? Oh, it is. Yeah. And typically you will often see something come off. There's a little bit right there. Okay. All right. So I believe that we have gotten our chips, our paint chips have been properly prepared for getting ready to do the last bit of touch-up. Now, one of the things that's useful when you're using something like isopropyl alcohol is that it dries very quickly, almost instantly. Okay, it's very volatile. If you've ever seen the term volatile organic compounds or VOCs, this is extremely volatile, which means there are many terms people use, but it basically dries really quickly. So that is basically how I use cotton swabs, first dry and then lightly dampened with alcohol to clean the areas before I try to touch them up. This is an example of not getting in a hurry, taking your time, working methodically. And this will make for a better result. It's just like making sure that you're going to the trouble, you've gotten the paint, you've gotten the brush, and you're going through the effort of doing it. If you're going to do that, let's do it correctly. Because if you don't, you try to cut corners, well, you know how that happens. My gosh, cutting corners when you're cooking can have the same result, thereby meaning a result that you won't like. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you have not subscribed to this channel, feel free to click on that subscribe button and you will be able to find the channel more easily. And if you would like, you can certainly donate to the channel on any of these videos or the home page. I have a Buy Me a Coffee link. You can click on it. It'll take you there right to my Buy Me a Coffee page. And you can make a donation if you would like, and that will help me procure and rescue more of these machines so that I can show them on the channel and then also get them in the hands of people who sew to keep them alive, because they are just too incredible to see end up in a landfill somewhere. And yes, people do throw them away because they don't know what to do with them. They don't sew, they don't have time, and they don't want to be bothered. So I'm always grateful for people, even though I have to buy these machines, and 95% of the machines I get I have to purchase. I'm grateful that somebody thought to at least list it for sale and not throw it away. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.